do something with it, we also can take a critical stance towards it, which might get less popular or less important or less relevant, but still be there. I mean, when the television, when artists could for the first time have a VHS or like a home camcorder, you have this whole range of new video art, and that's totally cool. Yeah, and if you would do that now, then it's not so much about the novelty of that technology, but more about a deliberate decision for that aesthetic, which is also fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the history of how artists have reacted to the internet, the first days it was very visual. The general perception of the internet was the browser, and sometimes it still is. It's what you see, what you click on, what you drag, what you connect visually or with your mouse or whatever. And now it's gestures, and people are jumping and dancing in front of cameras to make things do strange movements. But I think it's about time to understand the internet as a system and as a machine, and understand how it works to really make the communication the object of everything. I mean, it's not that this doesn't exist, it's just a very tiny fraction of what I see. So the dynamics that are there, well, can be used for a lot of things, but it's not really done that well. In a way, the people who are most creative right now with the internet are the black hats, the bad hackers, people who are operating botnets and make millions of PCs clicking on websites and do other nasty stuff, although it's totally an abuse and a criminal activity. It's art in a way, because they really make the internet dance. They really give themselves the control over the mechanisms, and it's interesting to watch how far they can go. I'm not saying I want artists to be virus coders and other things. It's just they have an interesting knowledge and deep understanding on how the net works. And out of this understanding, you can create new stuff.
Because I'm wondering, I find it fascinating. I think you've said it a few times in different ways that you value that people understand the inner workings of the systems they use. So, which I also find interesting. But isn't that something that is always going to be quite technical, right? So maybe it's not for everybody to have the need to know how it works. Some people want to use it and make other things, not about the infrastructure itself, but just use the infrastructure. Which also makes sense with the Blinken Light, because the project, because you made the infrastructure for it, but then you left it to the let's say the audience or the people to think of the content, right? So, because I am some kind of a bit technical person, but I don't really want, or I really don't want to know if I would have a car, what would be under the hood, you know? I don't have time for that, nor the interest, and I don't want to repair my own car. I would bring it to the garage. So I don't know if it's necessary for everybody to be technologically savvy. If it would still be like that, then the internet would not have democracy.
Yeah, maybe not everybody, but that shouldn't stop you from doing anything. I mean, the second iteration of Blinken Lights, we provided an API, so people could write games for the system. It was no longer just using the game, they were writing the game that others could use. And given the opportunity for a fourth installation we might have in the future, we would even expand on this one. So I think that the real notion of creating operating systems is at the heart of that project, and we want people to participate as deep as possible. Of course, there's going to be a pyramid of, few people are going to use the total hardcore features, and more are going to use the easier it is, whatever interface we create. But that shouldn't stop us from pursuing that goal. And also, I think there shouldn't be any disconnect. I mean, whenever I here, like, oh, this is technological. I thought, like, yeah, what's not technological? I mean, the whole art process is the history of technology of mankind is deeply embedded into it. Whenever there is a new technology coming up, it's going to be part of it. Painting is technology.
Yeah, but for example, the things that are on display now, I mean, the system that I made is very technological, of course. Even mathematics are involved, but the works that I show in it actually are not technological at all. So I make a distinction in which I made my own infrastructure because it just didn't happen to exist. But then the work that I make in it is not technological at all. I think, well, there's always, you have to do something. So even a painter is technological in the sense that a painter has to mix the paints. But
yeah, the results could be totally untechnological. The same is true for blinker lights. I mean, the end result wasn't technology at all. I mean, it was just people enjoying the stuff. And I mean, that's what you want to achieve. You know, you want to achieve that people get into your art, that they are participating and that more or less become part of it in the best sense. And there's another good example. Maybe you know that project called Image Fulgurator. It won the Ars Electronica Award a few years ago. Julius von Bismarck, right? Super cool. Yeah, that's really. I was stunned by this project because it was just turning around what a camera does into projecting images into other people's digital images because they were using a flash and he was reacting to the flash and then sort of embedding his own picture into somebody else's picture, which on an artist level is totally over the top and one of the coolest things I've ever heard of. But it was only possible through a deep understanding of the mechanism of a camera, which is not really that new, but it took, I don't know, how long are cameras here on this planet, Camera Obscura, Latana Magica. I mean, this has been here forever, and it took then another few hundred years before somebody was coming up with such an idea. Of course, digital cameras had to be invented too, or other cameras. So that's what I'm missing somehow. Yeah, but it's coming.
So I think we're sort of nearing the end of our time. It would be nice to take a couple of questions from the floor. I'm sure there is some. Please raise your hand.
We've been talking a lot about art. I'm not sure that was the real aim here. But if you've got other questions regarding the use of social media platforms, I think we can also...
Okay, hi, my name is Sebastian, and I want to ask if you believe that, first of all, how do you define interactivity? And secondly, do you believe that you can achieve that definition through the web and through machines in general? Or do you believe that there has to be some kind of physical interaction between the art and the audience? Thank you.
I like interpassivity a lot.
Sorry?
Interpassivity. So both parts just sit there and look at each other, but there's no...
Definition... Are you done?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what level of definition you expect, but for me, interaction only starts when people understand the messaging. Problem I have with many things that are called interactive is that you can provide input, but you're not really included in the output. I've seen too many media installations where people were engaging by hopping and dancing around and creating sounds, and then somehow having the effect on the object of changing colors, but they never understand why or how this reaction is related to what they did. If you type on an A on a keyboard, you expect an A to come up, or at least something to happen that you know that this was because you pressed A. And when you achieve this loop, this message loop, that you provide a message in and the reaction you get from the system is something you can work with and maybe put something on top of it to be able to combine it with new stuff and then try it out and create new stuff, that's where interactivity starts. Anything else is just a bucket where you can put your movements into and nothing is ever going to come out of. We need more interactivity. So get creative now.
I have a question about the sort of the mini argument that you had about censorship. You were when you talked about the plane videos on the building, you said at some point, and you said that a few times, you should be in control of the content. My question is, who is you? I think in the Blinken-led project, you were talking about yourself, namely the creators of the platform. And I think in most other instances, when you're, for example, talking about Facebook or sort of government censorship, you is the individual. The question is, when does that change? Like, how small does the platform have to be so that the platform creator should still be in control? And at what point does it get big enough that the platform creator becomes sort of the villain and the individual has to be protected?
Not so sure it's a matter of size.
No.
I mean, Facebook is here, and what they tell you is that they provide the platform for you to publish whatever you want, and that you can interact with whoever you want in what way you want. And the truth is that's not always the case. Blinken Lights wasn't such a system. It wasn't about open communication platforms where people can publish stuff. It was the invitation to everybody to participate in this particular object and become a part of this. I mean, when people were sending us movies, it was for the building. It was to make the building itself something else than it used to be. It's not an open, it wasn't really considered to be an open platform where you can publish everything. I mean, people were sending us movies with URLs of their projects scrolling through. Nobody would understand this if they were looking at this, apart from the fact that scrolling text is the worst thing you can do on a big display anyway. So it still needs the adaptation to whatever you want to achieve.
In Second Life, Second Life used to be totally controlled by the creators of Second Life, but I think at some point the citizens of Second Life organized themselves and tried to overthrow the. Do you know more about that? And then I think the result of that was that Second Life, the source code was published and it got more open. My details might be wrong here, but what I liked was that the creatures turned against their god, the developers. So if we just have a huge organization on Facebook and that we all say that we're going to overthrow, you know what I mean?
On that revolutionary note, do we have any more time, or we?
Not really.
Okay, so I defer to the real god of today, Rika, and I'd like to close this session and thank our speakers and thank you all for listening.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you guys too. It was really nice. We're gonna have in 5 minutes another talk with Tina Marianne Krog-Madsen. She's gonna talk about performing the media. She's an art historian, a freelance creator, and an artist from Denmark.
Dankeschön, alles gut.